If you believe your blood pressure is under control just because you take your medication every morning and try to eat a little less salt, you may be making a mistake that quietly destroys your body every single day. Because the truth is, high blood pressure does not become dangerous when you see a number on a monitor. It becomes dangerous years before that moment, while you still feel completely normal. I have seen people walk into a clinic with no pain, no warning signs, no reason to worry, and within months they are dealing with a stroke, heart failure, or permanent damage that cannot be reversed. Not because they ignored their health, but because they trusted a system that only reacts after the damage is already done. And what makes this even more unsettling is that there are simple things happening inside your body right now, things no one has clearly explained to you, that are pushing your blood pressure higher day after day without you ever feeling a single symptom. I'm not telling you this from theory or something I read in a textbook. I've spent over 2 decades working inside operating rooms, opening chests, repairing damaged vessels, and seeing firsthand what uncontrolled blood pressure does to the human body over time. I've held hearts that were thickened and exhausted from years of silent strain, and I've treated patients who were shocked to learn how much damage had already been done without a single warning sign. The hardest part is not the surgery. It's knowing that many of those cases could have been slowed down, sometimes even prevented, if the right things had been done earlier, consistently, and with a clear understanding of what was actually happening inside the body. High blood pressure does not announce itself. It does not wake you up in the middle of the night or force you to stop what you are doing. It works quietly, minute by minute, placing constant pressure on the inner walls of your arteries, slowly wearing them down in a way you cannot feel. While you are sitting, resting, even sleeping, that pressure is still there, pushing against vessels that are becoming less flexible with age. Over time, this silent strain begins to affect everything. The heart has to work harder, the kidneys start to lose efficiency, and the brain becomes more vulnerable to damage. And the most dangerous part is this. By the time symptoms finally appear, the process has often been going on for years, sometimes decades, leaving behind damage that cannot simply be undone. And this is where we need to be completely honest. We are not truly treating the problem. We are managing a number. When your blood pressure rises, the system responds with medication, general advice, and routine monitoring. But very rarely does anyone explain what is actually driving that pressure inside your body. The focus stays on lowering the reading, not correcting the underlying conditions that created it. As long as we approach it this way, we remain reactive, always one step behind, instead of addressing the real causes before they turn into damage. To understand what is really happening, you need to picture your arteries like a network of flexible hoses carrying blood throughout your body. When you are young, those hoses are soft, elastic, and able to expand easily each time your heart pumps. That expansion absorbs pressure and keeps everything flowing smoothly. But over time, especially after the age of 60, those vessels begin to lose their flexibility. They become thicker, stiffer, less responsive. Now imagine pushing the same amount of water through a rigid pipe instead of a flexible hose. The pressure rises immediately. That is exactly what happens inside your body. Your heart may be doing the same work, but your arteries are no longer helping. They resist, and that resistance is what drives your blood pressure higher. Once you understand that, the picture becomes much clearer. Because high blood pressure is not caused by a single problem. It is the result of several systems in your body slowly drifting out of balance. First, your arteries lose their natural flexibility, becoming stiff and resistant instead of supportive. Second, your nervous system remains in a constant state of low-level stress, keeping your body slightly tense even when you think you are at rest. And third, your body often becomes chronically underhydrated, making your blood thicker and harder to circulate. These are not dramatic changes you can feel. They happen quietly, gradually, until one day the numbers rise and the damage is already underway. And this is exactly where most conversations stop. Right at the point where people are told what is wrong but never shown what to do about it. But this is also where everything can begin to change. Because when you understand these 3 root causes, you can start to influence them directly in a way that is simple, practical, and surprisingly effective. What I am about to show you is not complicated, and it does not require a gym, special equipment, or expensive programs. It is a short, structured routine that takes just 10 minutes a day and targets each of these mechanisms at the same time. The first part of this approach focuses on something most people overlook because it does not look impressive at all, and that is isometric exercise. These are movements where your muscles are working hard, but your body is not moving through space. A wall sit, a plank, holding a position, while your muscles stay under tension. It may feel simple, but the effect inside your body is anything but simple. When you hold one of these positions, your muscles contract and temporarily restrict blood flow in that area. Then, the moment you release, blood rushes back through your vessels, forcing them to expand quickly. Over time, this repeated cycle of restriction and expansion begins to retrain your arteries, improving their ability to respond and regain some of the flexibility they have lost. This is not just theory. Large-scale analyses in recent years have shown that isometric training can produce some of the most significant reductions in blood pressure compared to other forms of exercise, especially in older adults. In many cases, the average reduction is around 10 points in systolic pressure, which is comparable to adding another medication for some patients. What makes this so powerful is that it directly targets arterial stiffness, one of the core drivers of elevated blood pressure, and it does it in a way that is controlled, repeatable, and accessible. You are not just exercising your muscles. You are conditioning your vascular system to function better under pressure. The second part focuses on something even more subtle, but just as powerful, and that is how you breathe. Most people never think about their breathing unless something feels wrong. Yet it is one of the fastest ways to influence your nervous system. Your body constantly shifts between two modes, one that prepares you for action, and one that allows you to recover and repair. The problem is that many people spend too much time in a state of quiet tension, where the body never fully relaxes. This keeps blood vessels slightly constricted and pressure consistently elevated. What controlled breathing does is gently guide your body back toward a calmer state by slowing your breath to a steady rhythm, 5 seconds in through your nose and 5 seconds out through your mouth. You begin to send a clear signal that it is safe to relax. Your heart rate slows, your vessels begin to open, and your system shifts away from constant strain. Practiced regularly, this simple pattern can lead to meaningful reductions in blood pressure over time, not through force, but by restoring balance where it has been lost. The third part is often the most surprising, because it involves something as simple as how you drink water. Most people understand that hydration matters, but very few realize how directly it can influence blood pressure. As the body becomes even mildly dehydrated, the blood becomes more concentrated, and the vessels respond by narrowing to maintain circulation. That narrowing increases pressure with every heartbeat. What is even less obvious is that the way you drink matters just as much as the amount. Rapidly gulping water can trigger a mild stress response, while slow, steady sipping has the opposite effect. By taking small, deliberate sips over a couple of minutes, you support hydration, while reinforcing a calmer state in your nervous system. It becomes a natural extension of the breathing you just completed, helping your body stay relaxed instead of returning to tension. When you bring these three elements together, something important happens. You are no longer addressing blood pressure from a single angle. You are influencing the system as a whole. The isometric work helps restore flexibility in your arteries. The controlled breathing calms your nervous system and reduces unnecessary tension. And the slow, deliberate hydration supports smoother circulation. Each step targets a different mechanism, but they reinforce each other when done in sequence. Instead of pushing your body in one direction, you are guiding it back toward balance. This is what makes the routine effective. It is not a collection of random tips, but a coordinated approach that works with how your body is designed to function. But even the most effective routine means very little if it is not done consistently. And this is where most people struggle. The problem is not discipline, it is design. Instead of relying on motivation, the key is to attach this routine to something you already do every day without thinking. Choose a simple anchor, like brushing your teeth or making your morning coffee, and let that action trigger the entire sequence automatically. This removes the need to decide or negotiate with yourself. To make it even easier, track it visually. A simple mark on a calendar creates a sense of progress, and over time, that small chain becomes something you naturally want to maintain. Before you start, there are a few common mistakes that can quietly reduce the effectiveness of everything you just learned. The first is holding your breath during the isometric exercises, which can actually push your blood pressure higher instead of helping it regulate. You should be breathing steadily the entire time. The second is rushing through the breathing pattern, turning it into something mechanical instead of calm and controlled. The rhythm is what creates the effect, so it needs your full attention. The third is drinking water too quickly, which can disrupt the relaxed state you just created. And finally, trying to do too much too soon often leads to discomfort and inconsistency. Starting small and building gradually is what allows your body to adapt safely. When you step back and look at this clearly, one insight stands out. Most medications are designed to target a single pathway that influences blood pressure, whether it is vessel tension, fluid balance, or heart rate. They can be effective, and in many cases they are necessary, but each one works on a specific piece of a much larger system. What you are doing here is different. You are addressing multiple underlying mechanisms at the same time, improving how your arteries respond, how your nervous system regulates stress, and how your blood circulates. It is not about replacing treatment, but about supporting your body in a more complete and coordinated way. I remember a patient in his late 60s who came to me after a routine checkup showed his numbers creeping higher each year. He felt fine, stayed active, and assumed there was no real urgency. A few months later, he suffered a stroke that changed his life overnight. What stayed with me was not just the event, but what he said afterward. He told me he wished someone had explained what was happening inside his body before it reached that point. Years later, I met another man around the same age who decided to take small, consistent steps early on. He was not perfect, but he stayed steady, and over time his numbers improved, his energy returned, and his confidence grew. The difference between them was not luck. It was awareness, timing, and the decision to act before the damage became irreversible. Now the choice in front of you is simple, even if it is not always easy. You can continue doing what you have always done and hope that it is enough. Or you can take a few deliberate minutes each day to support your body in a more complete way. If something in this made you think differently, share it with someone who might need to hear it. Small awareness can change outcomes in ways we often underestimate. And as you move forward, remember that any change to your routine, especially if you are currently on medication, should be discussed with your doctor. That is not a warning. It is a way of making sure you are supported as you take better care of your health.